fines you announced yesterday, and you alluded to it before, that challenge between balancing up not wanting to put people off from coming forward to get testing because they feel like they might face a fine. How then do you balance the 5,000 and wanting to make sure that people aren't going out in big groups with not punishing people for coming forward? Therefore, if someone has COVID and is found in one of those big groups, are they likely to be fined?
Their positive diagnosis and their story about who they've been in contact with is worth infinitely more than $5,000. That's always been the view. And I know that seems counterintuitive to people, and we perhaps would all feel better if people who were doing the wrong thing got, fined. We'd perhaps have a moment of, we'd be slightly satisfied about that. The key point here, though, is, and there's been some pretty, not from you guys, but there's been some pretty cheap commentary around this. Like, people will just not tell their story. They just won't. And I don't think there's another jurisdiction, not one that I'm aware of anyway, that does that. And even if you were prepared, Laurel, even if you were prepared to pay the fine for what you'd done, you'd be reticent to be essentially dobbing in heaps of other people by telling a full and frank story. That's not the way you get the real treasure. And that's who've you been with, when were you with them, who have they been with. That's how you stop something that starts with 2 or 3 people. It gets to 40. That approach is how you stop it at 40, not 400. So that's the logic to it. Beyond that, though, one sure way that you can not be contributing to the spread of the virus is to follow the rules. And if you are not out of your home, down at Coles at Springvale Junction, milling with 40 other people, or in a Macca's car park in the deep outer suburbs at midnight, or at your mate's place having dinner, you would not be contributing to if you weren't doing that, then you would not be contributing to the spread of the virus. And it's not just people who've got it, it's all the people gathering together who someone who's got it will give it to. That's the whole nature. So if people stay at home and don't do those things that are unlawful, then we have much greater chance of getting to the other side of this and getting there faster. Does that make sense?
It does. But
good.
It's a slightly bizarre situation.
Well, it is a bit, and that's the nature of this.
And the one person with COVID is the person who doesn't get fined.
Well, ultimately, there can really be no other way. And I know there's a lot of counterintuitive, a lot of things that are counterintuitive in this. There's a lot of things that are unique, that are unprecedented. Like, we genuinely talk about this as a 1 in 100 year event because there's about 1,000 reasons why that's the case. And one of them would be that for some people, penalising them and then them not telling us the story, which is what we really need, what we have to have, or even worse than that, people not getting tested because they felt that if they got tested and they were positive, they might find there's some sense of shame or stigma or a penalty. The most valuable commodity at the moment is anyone with any symptoms coming forward, getting tested. That allows us to protect them, their family, and every family. That's the fact of this. And we've got to keep these testing rates up. And we're not going to make any decisions that would make it less likely that people gave us the full and complete story. Where have you been? Who have you been with? If, for instance, we didn't have that information from those families in Hallam, if we hadn't got that information, well, that's not 44 cases. That is, it's a way, and the southeast looks very much like the north, and the west looked maybe, just in terms of numbers, I mean, 5-6 weeks ago, and there's no COVID normal Christmas. No way. We're nowhere near that. So that's what's at play here. And I know it kind of doesn't sit right for some, and even against logic, some of it doesn't sit right. But it's the only way you can go.